Hi, good morning, and welcome to the SenseitAll webinar. So we like to do this webinar once a month, and it's really just to introduce SenseitAll and also talk about the technology and also answer sort of questions that have come in during the past month. So let me jump just into it and say that today's 13th of December 2023. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do a quick introduction to ZP, a quick introduction to the SenseitAll platform, and also talk about and sort of R&D part of this, which is Kate, which is a potentiostat. We'll also talk about the capabilities that it's able to do: amprometry, potentiometry, impedance spectroscopy, and also voltammetry. And we'll also then do a couple of live demos from my colleague Guyana, who's online as well. So I will sort of go forward a little bit and just say, just a very quick introduction to ZP. I don't want to over sort of discuss us, because I think many of you will know us already, but just to say that at ZP we do exist, and this is a quick introduction to who we are. So we were launched in 2014, and if you've come in just into the webinar just now, don't worry about it, we record it, so anyone who's registered will end up with a recording anyway. So we were launched in 2014, and we are what's called ISO 13485. So we do the contract development and contract manufacture of electrochemical biosensors, and we have some facilities in Norway, and we also have some facilities in the UK as well. This is the ZP team. It's an international, multi-international team with something like 23 languages currently spoken within ZP. The facilities that we have are really state-of-the-art. So primarily our facilities are actually in Norway, but we have sort of class 7 clean rooms with class 5 zones in there. So when I talk about the technologies today, it's probably worth knowing that the bulk of these are designed and developed and manufactured at ZP. It's not like these are sort of third-party devices that are kind of put together. We do have a facility in Coventry. I was just there yesterday, so we have some lab facilities in Coventry, and we do have a satellite office at Swansea as well. As I say, as long as you registered for this, everyone who's registered will actually get the webinar going out to them as well as a recording. What I want to talk about today is the SenseitAll platform, but we're also having a contingency coming in from one of the universities in the UK as well to this webinar today. So I do want to make a special kind of discussion about that. So we have the SenseitAll platform. It has an optical system associated with it, as an electrochemical system associated with it. And that's really the most mature part, is this middle image here, which is an electrochemical, and I say here OEM platform, an original equipment manufacturing platform. And we also have a wearable platform as well. So in many universities around the UK, there are people who are very interested in things like, and internationally interested in wearables and microneedles. And we are we are also able to use wearables in this platform as well. So I will go a little bit faster now and say, so, okay, we are going to talk about SenseitAll today, and SenseitAll, primarily we're going to focus on the middle part here, which is this electrochemical platform. Now there is going to be a live demo. So today's the 13th of December, and we'll probably do a live demo also on the 13th of January, but to book it. The reason we like to do live demos is because this technology is really about take a sample, put it on a sensor, run the sample, and actually the data will appear on the smartphone there and then, but also we save the data to the clouds. And I want to talk about the clouds capability also as well. So as I say, we like to do these live demos and webinars. The live demo is important because you need to just demonstrate the robustness of the technology at the same time. As I say, if you come in late today, don't worry about it. I'll send you a recording afterwards. I think the philosophy at ZP is really, there are people out there in the world. I try to indicate here a patient, and I try to indicate, somebody in agriculture, that they necessarily want technologies, but they may need technology. So the patient will be quite motivated to actually receive technologies that help them in their welfare or their care. And for example, a farmer might be quite interested in a technology that helps them reduce costs. So, for example, nitrate fertilizers. And environmentalists might be quite interested in sensors because they can help them understand pollution, be it phosphate, potassium, or nitrate. And what's interesting about that comment there I just made to you is that potassium sensors can both help in agriculture and environment applications, but it can also help in monitoring patients as well. Anyone on dialysis, potassium levels are a way of measuring the outcomes or their requirement for a dialysis treatment. So what you have on the left-hand side here is really scientists and engineers and entrepreneurs and businesses. So scientists, entrepreneurs, engineers, and business people want to solve problems. And there are people in the world with problems. And as long as there's a business case for it, we can help these people. Now, the SenseitAll platform is really meant to be the fastest way of going from people who want to create solutions to people who have problems. The central image here says, see, the biggest kind of gap is that if you have a sensing need for someone, you have to kind of develop these sensors, and you also have to develop the hardware. And in this modern day, you also have to develop the kind of app, which is not so difficult, the electronics, the cloud connectivity, the interpretation of the signal. You have to essentially develop the ideas, you have to develop everything. Now with SenseitAll, we've actually put a lot of the pieces in place. And we've also made it so that if people are doing academic research, they can also seamlessly transition onto the SenseitAll platform as well. So we put a lot of the hardware in place, including sensors as well. But let me discuss that. So our idea really is, or not idea, this is what we're actually up to, is that you've got on the left-hand side, developers, academics, entrepreneurs, businesses, and on the right-hand side, you've got end users. And usually the gap between these two is that people have to go away and develop all this technology. When we're saying, well, actually, let's put a lot of this technology in place already. So we are able to very quickly either use one of our standard sensors, or academics can develop new sensors to go on the platform. And the idea then is that the sample goes on the sensor, and then the sensors are actually run by the hardware. And we have a Julie database system. Now, this system has been easily 9 years in development, so it's a very mature cloud data management system. So all of our technologies end up being cloud enabled, because realistically, you can't make products for this day and age, or even solutions that are not have a kind of cloud element to them, because it's the way that the modern world is essentially connected. So we do have this Julie system where all the data that I'll talk about today in SenseitAll, and when Guyana does her demonstration, you'll also see that data goes to the cloud and goes to Julie. What's cool about that then is, as you as a company, or you as the academic, or you as a developer, you will be able to see that data. You'll be able to see that raw signal. And so there's things like API, application program interface. So if this hardware or this technology stack makes its way into your commercial offering, you can still get hold of the data using an API call upon Julie. But if you're an academic, and let's say you're working with a kind of local hospital and you're doing pH testing of blood, for example, you'll be able to see that raw signal and actually able to make any improvements on the algorithm so that you essentially increase the accuracy. So the SenseitAll platform is the idea that you've got people with requirements and people with solutions or ideas, and we're trying to get between these two groups as quickly as possible by putting this hardware and this cloud system in place, and also with some robust sensors as well. What I'm really discussing here is actually a lean startup philosophy. So lean startup has been around for quite a while. I would say at least 15 years, but it's not so embedded, I would say, necessarily in the thinking in Asia, or so embedded in the thinking of Europe, for example. But in the US, they do have a good sense of this lean startup. The lean startup is this kind of mentality of, don't spend years developing hardware and software, and then just releasing it to the market, or releasing it to the end users and finding out that actually nobody wanted it. The philosophy is to have an MVP, a minimally viable product that you can get into people's hands pretty quickly. They can give you feedback on it. You can use that feedback to actually improve, and then improvements don't always have to be through the hardware. They can actually just be through the software as well. But it's about giving people material earlier on and getting their feedback, so you can actually understand that what you're going to give people actually has genuine value. So the SenseitAll hardware that we'll talk about today, again, I will give you a live demonstration of this. But also for the guys from the academic groups, also know I am going to talk about a potentiostat version of this as well. But it's, it is elegant. It looks like, a much more of an Apple consumer type product. It's got LEDs on the front of it that tell you that it's powered on. The LEDs tell you that you've made Bluetooth connection with it. The LEDs tell you that the assay is running, and the LEDs tell you when the assay is run and uploaded the data. So it's a series of white, blue, green, and flashing green LEDs really kind of guide the user experience. This is just aside from the shots, but you'll see that it's got some very nice mechanical aspects to it as well. Slightly not really for the commercial guys who are attending today, but more for the academic teams. There's a lot of potentiostats these days. You kind of have these slots in the front of them where you have to slot the sensor in. And those slots are actually a pain to slot in. The connectors soon damage, and actually the other problem is that the liquids can ingress into those slots and it'll ruin the instrument. So there are no slots on this particular instrument. And as I say, it has a much more of a kind of consumer electronics experience. This is more for the academics here today, but just to say that the instrument is actually, when we say SenseitAll, the reason that term is there is because it can actually do so many methodologies. So if we're talking about oxygen sensing or glucose sensing or lactate sensing or ketone sensing, then these often are amperometric sensing. So the SenseitAll platform has amperometry. If we're talking about pH or potassium or nitrate or chloride, then these are often potentiometric sensors. So the platform has that potentiometric capability. If we're talking about small molecules like gingerol or capsaicin, it also has voltammetry capability. And if we're talking about virus detection or bacteria detection or what's called immunosensors, then it also has impedance spectroscopy capability as well. So that one little hand-sized instrument. Now, the user experience, you'll see it from the demos, is really nice and elegant, that the user doesn't get exposed to all of this, except if you go into the academic mode, where then the academic's going to basically use it like a lab instrument. But what you'll see today in the live demo is actually that people get a really nice user experience. Now, SenseitAll, what we'll do today is demonstrate a couple of assays. And so when you see that, you'll get a sense of how elegant this really is. But one of the problems that we are solving is this gap between what is happening in laboratory science and what is actually delivered to the real world. So if you go into a laboratory, you'll find that the laboratory instruments are sort of less than elegant, and they're designed as laboratory instruments. They're not designed as products to necessarily be used in the real world. But actually, when you now look at, so SenseitAll is what I'm focused on today. There's a SenseitAll which has a slightly different software, which is actually, well, it's not slightly, it is different, called Kate. So this is a potentiostat. I'm not suggesting this for any of the commercial guys who are here today. I'm only suggesting it for the academic groups. But what I'm trying to do is really reduce the gap between the lab instrument that you have, which, for example, is the Kate potentiostat, which people don't have, but we've launched, and the SenseitAll platform. There is no mechanical difference here. These two instruments are the same thing. So what this says is that if, for example, you develop a new assay on this platform, there is no translation issue on actually then being able to give it to, or turning it into a real product or putting it into clinical trials, because actually it's the same instrument. And then, so in the lab, you actually get the benefits of the LEDs, you get the benefits of the mechanical aspects of this, and you also get the benefit that actually, when asking the question, can I make this into a real product? The quick answer is you can do it. But today I'll focus on SenseitAll rather than Kate. But Kate is a fully capable potentiostat. I may put a few links underneath this when we've finished. So let me just describe the workflow that you'll see today, but this workflow, you'll also see it for real from Guyana. So I'll describe it and then you'll see it, and then hopefully that will kind of cement everything together a little bit. So we have sensors and we have different hardwares. And now the hardware I'm going to focus on today is the middle one, which is I describe it as the point of need test, and it's the electrochemical point of need test. You'll also see the app. The app's super important. The app is already on the App Store. Now, what's important about that is we've already got the app distributed, so we've overcome one of the barriers that there is an app existing. The way I would describe the SenseitAll app, it's a distribution app. What that means is that you can download it to a smart device, and then the first thing that the app will ask you is to what assay do you want to run? And I'll give you a quick demonstration myself actually off my phone, but also you'll see Guyana do this as well. So we have an app, it already exists on the App Store. Now that app, what you'll see today is that it also will upload immediately data to Julie, and I will run through that as well. So the sensors go, for example, the sensor goes into the hardware, and then the sample, for example, goes onto that sensor, and that sensor is, that electronics then is communicating with the app. You'll see us make a Bluetooth connection with it, and then the app tells the hardware what to do. Because don't forget, I said that hardware is capable of doing amperometry, potentiometry, impedance spectroscopy, and voltammetry. But real end users don't care anything about those applications, so we don't want to expose them to that. Actually, the app will just tell them, we'll just tell the instrument which one of those methods to use and give it the necessary parameters. The hardware will give the raw signal back to the app, and the app will give the raw signal to Julie, and then Julie will actually send the data back to the app, and you'll see this happen in real time, and you will get a concentration. Now, what the Julie's actually doing is actually saving the raw signal. So, for example, I'm supporting clients at the moment in India, and they get these numbers on their smartphones, and they want to know, well, how do I know that that's for real? Well, actually, I can see the raw signal. And so the nice thing about getting the raw signal is you can see that raw signal. If you're a commercial entity that's developing or distributing this as part of your technology stack, you will see the raw signal. And if you're an academic, it's your raw signal anyway, and you can see it because it's automatically saved to the cloud. But also, if you were working with other parties and you were trying to do some sort of quality control and make sure that if it was a local hospital that everything was running okay, you could still see the raw signal online. You don't need to see the patient data, by the way, it's just the raw signal. But so the nice thing about it is that the raw signal goes to the cloud. You can look at it. You can also share it with others, but you've got the control over it. Julie also has an API. This is more, I think, interesting to the commercial guys. And the API basically means you can make calls upon Julie and actually pull across the raw data or pull across features. So things that are basically what's going on in Julie doesn't have to remain in Julie, because the way we imagine it is that people will not imagine, this is what's happening. People will make commercial services and commercial products based on this technology stack, but they'll probably want to serve up the data through their own portals or their own cloud systems, and that's where the API call will come in useful. You will see this for real in a minute, but this quick video here shows you the hardware. In fact, there's my hand there, so you get a sense of scale. The sensor is quite elegant. You don't slot that sensor into the device. That's really kludgy and horrible, and actually, people really struggle. The sensor goes in there, and it's just a little mechanical click up. The nice little magnets that kind of bring it up and make it feel all tight and sort of clickable. So there's quite a nice click there. The other video here is what Guyana is going to do for you, which is do some live demonstrations. So you'll see this whole workflow about sample onto sensor. The app will run the meter, and then the data will end up in the cloud. What's quite nice about that part there is I'm just showing that if you were doing something like a soil sample or a blood sample, and blood or soil or something got onto the hardware, we can pull it apart quite quickly and give it a wipe down as well. And then this is the part about, we kind of call it SenseitAll, because once you've got that app installed on your smart device, you can actually scan different QR codes, and each time you scan a QR code, it will open up a new assay. So for every sensor or for every assay, we can provide a QR code, so then that the end user has a SenseitAll platform. The product arrives in the post. There's a QR code there. They scan it. It sets up the app to do exactly that assay, and essentially they're off. So there's no, otherwise you can't be asking users to be doing parameters and stuff like that. It's not the way, people don't have the interest, or it can lead to errors, let's say. So at ZP, we do have a lot of pre-existing electrochemical sensors, and these are all compatible with that SenseitAll app. But in the academic field, we also have Kate then. So that means you can develop those assays. So if we don't have the sensors or the assays already, you can develop on Kate, but then Kate will seamlessly feed into SenseitAll. So that entire gap, there's a chasm, they call it the kind of chasm of death in academia between what academics do and commercial products. The chasm is gone at this point. A lot of what we do is actually basing it all on repeatable screen printed electrodes. So at the heart of what we're doing is none of this would really work unless we were doing the manufacturing of these kind of technologies, but we are actually doing the manufacturing of these. A recording will come out later on, but if you scan that QR code, in fact, I might just do it off my phone now. If I scan that QR code, it's bringing me to the, I know that's very dark and very small, but it's brought me to the App Store. I've opened it up. I've got this SenseitAll, and the next thing it's doing now is asking me to scan another QR code. So if I just go to the next slide, we've got one for chili, ginger, nitrate. So each one of those, each time I scan it, I'll try and scan that TAS one. Whoops, daisy. Yeah, it's opened up. I scanned the ginger one, so it's opened up the ginger one for me. So and then I can actually just scan again, and I can just go between these different assays. So that SenseitAll comment is because, in fact, because underlying this, there's a set of electronics that can do amperometry, potentiometry, impedance spectroscopy, voltammetry. We can basically go from assay or sensor to sensor or assay to assay just by using QR codes. There's a bit of a landing page here, but I'll send out these links later on, so there's no need to kind of do that now. This is also an important part of the SenseitAll platform, is actually the ability to drop ship. So how do you scale a product rapidly? Because I said one of the problems was, that people had to develop the hardware and the sensors and the cloud systems and the apps. And I'm saying, well, there you are. SenseitAll's actually got all of this sort of built into it. But then there's actually an operational problem, which is how do I even fulfill customer orders? So a bit of a scenario here. Here you are, maybe as a company or maybe as an entrepreneur, and you're winning clients because you're out there talking to people, and you may even get a sale. So what that means then is that actual sale or that order can come to you, send an order to ZP. That's really an instruction. ZP can take the correct sensor and the correct hardware, put those in a box, and actually then drop ship it to the end user. So suddenly, once upon a time, to do operations in a company, you have to have accounting, you have to have somebody to physically ship it, you have to have some sort of expertise on international shipping because there's different tariffs around the world. So it's quite an operation. So suddenly this model means that you can have a lean startup where actually somebody has an idea, they use the SenseitAll platform, and by using the SenseitAll platform, we've actually then taken care of distribution as well through this drop shipping model. So I didn't give Guyana much of a heads up here, but what we're going to do now is transition to a demo, because I've done a lot of talking. Today, we're not demonstrating Kate, but we are going to just demonstrate SenseitAll. So Guyana, can you hear me? There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Guyana, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. What I'll do, I'll stop sharing. I'll turn off my mic. I'll turn off my camera. You do your introductions and your demos, and then I'll do a summary at the end. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm Guyana. I'm an engineer here in Zima Peacock, and I'll start with this demonstration of our SenseitAll platform. So I'll show you what I have with me. I have the SenseitAll device. I have two QR codes. I have chili and ginger QR codes, and I have two types of sensors with cartridges. These are the chili ones, and here are ginger ones. I also have two types of solutions. One is habanero chili powder mixed with the chili pod buffer solution, and another one is ginger shot solutions mixed with the ginger pod buffer. So I'll just go ahead and start. And I also have an Android app with me and Android phone. And for the first thing that I need to do, I'll just scan the QR code of the chili sensor. Yeah. just says the battery is low from my phone. I'll continue charging.
No, it look well. Yes, you need to continue charging, but it looks fine. We can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay. So now you see that the app is set up for the chili sensor, and here in the middle of the screen we can see that it says chili sensor. It also says the chili part number, the batch, and also says how many steps do we need to do to finish the assay. And on the top of the part of the screen, we have the Bluetooth icon. When I click to that icon, it will start searching for available devices. But before that, I will need to turn on the device. So here on the top of the device, there is a button. I'll click for 2 seconds. And then I see the green lights indicating that it's on. I can also see in the front of the device blinking blue lights, which means that device is ready to be connected with the Bluetooth. Okay, so I'll go back to the app and then I'll click Bluetooth icon. Now it's searching for devices and it already found SIA 1003, which is the serial number of this particular device. I'll click on it to connect. Yeah, now it's connected and we can see serial number of the device and also the MAC address of the device. The next thing that I would like to do is to change the test settings. I can click to this card on the bottom of the screen and it will open up one screen saying insert test details. So these details are really crucial to add. So in order to find this data in the Julie after when we are done with the measurement. So I'll just add a sample ID as chili test and cluster name, I'll just name demo. I'll show you what is the cluster name and sample ID on the Julie a bit later. And operator ID is my email address. Okay, now it seems like everything is ready. I'll just continue and press go to assay. Now we need to choose the dilution factor. So I have 1 to 100 diluted to chili buffer solution. So I'll just click 100 in the app. Yeah. Now I'll need to insert the cartridge. So I'm putting in this slot and then click this moving part up. And then here there are 3 connectors. They are touching to the sensor connectors. And yeah, that was it. It's really easy to click and we don't need to struggle to put the cartridge in the slot because we have alignment system. So if the cartridge is a little bit misaligned, it will still align it properly. Yeah, now I can move forward and pipette sample. I'm pipetting 50 microliter of the solution. Here I need to be careful to not scratch electrodes, and I also need to cover all the surface of the electrodes. I have just a small bubble there. I'm just trying to pick up. Yeah, now we can start. Click start measurement, and then the measurement will start. So the process will take around 30 seconds. And during this time, the device is running cyclic voltammetry and sends the data to the mobile app. A mobile app posts in the Julie where the data gets analyzed. And once it runs all the algorithms and getting the results back, it sends back the results to the mobile app and we will see it on the screen soon. Yeah, so the results are back and I see that we are getting 60,000 SHUs. And also on the device, we can see that LEDs are green now. It means that upload was successful to the Julie. Now when I click done, and I can go to Julie and show you results. Just need to log into Julie again. I will also search demo because I placed demo as a cluster name in the beginning of the test. And I click on demo, and then I find the device that I'm connected, which is this one. And here's the test that I just did, chili test. I click on it. And we see the data. Yeah, I'll just continue and maybe I'll show you one more. Yeah, I'll continue and show you the ginger sensor. I'll click on the scan button and I scan the ginger QR code. And now we see that mobile app is set up to run ginger sensor assay. So I will change the test settings. I'll name it ginger test. Yeah, the same cluster and the operator is still me. So I'll just go black and then continue and go to assay. Yeah, the solution that I have is mixed with 1:10 ratio, so I don't need to change the dilution factor. I just need to insert the cartridge. Click it, so it will turn on and connect the sensor. Now I will pipette again 50 microliter of solution. Yeah, now all electrodes are covered and I can go ahead and start the measurement. Yeah, and the process is still the same. It will start cyclic voltammetry for this particular sensor and then send the data to Julie where it will get analyzed and then it will send the results back. Yeah, this whole process is really fast. It takes like 30 seconds for each sensor and the results will be here in 4 seconds. Yeah, so we got the results with micromolar and also with milligram per liter. And it also says this upload is completed. So when I go to Julie, I'll need to refresh. So I will see my latest test. And I don't need to change the cluster because I'm in the same cluster. And I click on the ginger test. And here is the results for my measurements. Yeah. Martin?
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks very much, Gana. So I think it's a sort of nice demonstration, really, because in the end, we said that this is a robust platform and that it's the electronics are robust, the cloud connectivity is robust, the fact that we process the data on the cloud is all robust, and that kind of robustness doesn't just come from anywhere. I mean, it's kind of 9 years in development that we had this vision when we first started ZP. If I was to sort of summarize the situation, then we think we can close the gap between actually what academia is doing and what industry needs by actually the introduction of this Kate's potentiostat, which is really the SenseitAll platform that you've seen today. All those good mechanical features and the connectivity to the cloud, except that it's more of a potentiostat. But then we can also we have the SenseitAll platform. So if people are looking for to really develop ideas a lot quicker and actually get them on the market, then we can do it really quickly through the SenseitAll. And you saw how Ghana was able to just change assays, same hardware, different sensors, but just change the assays by using that kind of QR system. And that QR system would, if somebody came to us and said, I want to measure calcium in water, for example, or conductivity of something, then we can just change the assay through the QR code and reskin the app, and they've got essentially a new product. And of course, with that drop shipping model as well, we've also solved the kind of how to do the commercialization or the operations part of that. So anyone who's registered for this video today, I'll send out the recording. Otherwise, I want to thank you. Special thank you to Dan. Appreciate you coming. And if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Okay, thanks for Ghana, and thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.